Lord Shiva's family. Lord Shiva is one of the main deities of Hindu Trimurti Trinity in the Indian mythology. He married goddess Parvati and lived in the caves of Mount Kailash in the Himalayas. Shiva and Parvati had two sons named Kartikeya and Ganesha and one daughter named Ashok Sundari. Kartikeya was the first son of Shiva and Parvati and the elder brother of Ganesha. He was also known as Kumar and Shanmukh. Once Shiva and Kartikeya left Mount Kailash to destroy the demons. Parvati started feeling lonely in their absence. To drive out her solitude, she approached the wish-fulfilling divine tree, the Ashok, and asked for a daughter. Her wish was granted. The daughter was named Ashok Sundari. Ganesha was the youngest child of Shiva and Parvati. He is one of the most popular gods. He is also called the remover of obstacles and the god of wisdom. It is believed that Parvati created Ganesha from the sandal turmeric paste that she had made to cleanse her body while bathing. Shiva and his attendants. Shiva had many attendants called the Ganas. The Ganas were supernatural beings with terrifying faces and bodies. The chief of the Ganas was Nandi. Nandi was also the vehicle, Vahan of Shiva and the gatekeeper of his abode. According to a legend, Nandi was the son of sage Shilad. He was devoted to Shiva right from his childhood. He once requested Shiva to let him always remain by his side. Shiva smiled and granted Nandi's wish gladly. Shiva also told Nandi that he had lost his bull on which he travelled, so Nandi would get the face of a bull and be his vehicle from then on. You will always be my friend and companion. You will head all my Ganas too, Shiva said. Apart from Nandi, Bring, Veerbhadra, Chandeshwar were the most important Ganas of Shiva. All the Ganas were completely devoted to Shiva and obeyed all the commands that he used to give them. Goddess Parvati and Nandi. The Ganas of Shiva could roam around anywhere in Mount Kailash. Parvati was not very happy with the freedom of the Ganas as they sometimes used to disturb her privacy. One day, Parvati was preparing to take her bath. She did not want to be disturbed, so she told Nandi to guard the door and not let anyone inside. As Nandi was a faithful attendant, he agreed and started guarding the entrance. After some time, Shiva arrived. Nandi got really confused. He thought, how can I ask my master to take permission first before entering his own home? When Parvati saw Shiva in front of her, she felt embarrassed. She was not happy at the sudden entry of Shiva. She also became very angry with Nandi. All the Ganas here are more loyal to Shiva than me. I need someone who will obey me and only me, she thought. After some days, Shiva went to the mountains to meditate. Then Parvati created Ganesha. Creation of Ganesha. Parvati decided to create a Gana for herself as all the Ganas and Nandi obeyed Shiva's commands first. One day, Parvati was smearing her body with sandal and turmeric paste. Suddenly, an idea struck her. She rubbed the paste off her body. She created an idol of a little boy from the sandal turmeric paste residue. Then she chanted some holy mantras and sprinkled the holy Ganges water on the idol to give life to it. The idol got transformed into a handsome boy. Parvati was delighted to see her newly created son. The boy, with both his palms joined in reverence, bowed down and saluted her. Mother, Parvati lovingly took him in her arms and showered her blessings on him. Then she said to him, "Dear son, you will only follow my commands from now onwards. I will do whatever you say, mother," said Parvati's son to her. This is how Ganesha was created. Ganesha stops Shiva. One day, Parvati was getting ready for her bath. She told Ganesha, "Son, do not let anyone come inside while I am bathing." Parvati also gave him a spear for his safety. Ganesha started guarding Parvati's bathing chamber. A little later, Shiva reached his cave. To his surprise, he saw a young boy guarding the entrance of the cave. As Shiva was about to enter the cave, Ganesha stopped him and said, "My mother is bathing. Nobody is allowed to go inside now." Shiva was amused. "My wife Parvati is your mother? That makes you my son. But then, I have never seen you before, so I am not your father." The boy raised his spear and said, "I have not seen you either. I will not allow you to enter, you strange man with matted hair and crawling snakes. It is my duty to make sure no one enters the cave without my mother's permission." Shiva was furious, but Ganesha did not move. Ganesha defeats the Ganas. Shiva ignored Ganesha and tried to enter his house, but Ganesha hit him with his spear. Shiva turned red with anger. He ordered his Ganas to get rid of the boy. Shiva's Ganas rushed in and stood before Ganesha. "Do you have any idea who Shiva is? He is our master and this cave belongs to him. You had better leave this place, or else we will have to throw you out forcefully." Paying no heed to these words, Ganesha courageously stood his ground. At Shiva's order, the Ganas charged towards little Ganesha. The Ganas were armed with different kinds of weapons. The Ganas tried different ways to attack Ganesha. Nandi and Bring started pulling his legs in opposite directions, but Ganesha struck their hands and saved himself. The Ganas were actually no match for the little Ganesha. They all were scared of Ganesha. Now they scrambled away in all directions to save themselves. Ganesha once again stood guard at the entrance. Ganesha fights against the gods. Sage Narad saw that Ganesha had defeated all the Ganas of Shiva. He persuaded Brahma, Vishnu and Indra to reach Mount Kailash along with the other gods. Everyone thought he was probably being tricked by Shiva and Parvati. Still, all of them hurried to aid Shiva. Parvati saw all the gods approaching. She became worried about her son. So Parvati created two powerful Shaktis, goddesses, for Ganesha's help. She then ordered both the goddesses to stand beside her son and help him. One goddess opened her mouth as wide as a hollow in a mountain and swallowed all the weapons hurled at Ganesha. The other goddess put on a dreadful form, ready to defeat and punish Ganesha's enemies. Ganesha conquered all his enemies and won the battle. The gods shuddered with the impact of Ganesha's blows. They gathered around Shiva and begged for protection. "Lord, this boy is extraordinary. Please save our lives. Ganesha will destroy us." Shiva beheads Ganesha. All the Ganas and the gods were defeated by little Ganesha. Shiva was furious. It had now become a matter of his honor. So he himself came forward to fight against the little boy. But Ganesha was completely ready to fight against him. So as soon as Shiva lifted his trident, it was immediately struck down by Ganesha. Furious at his trident being struck down, Shiva picked his bow, Pinaka, up. But his bow was soon demolished by Ganesha's spear. The valiant son of Parvati easily defeated Shiva even with his 10 arms. With Shiva's permission, Vishnu created an illusion of blinding clouds and split open Ganesha's spear with his divine disgust. The little boy struck back at Vishnu with his broken spear, throwing Vishnu to the ground. Vishnu instantly got up and resumed the fight with Ganesha. Immediately, Shiva seized the opportunity and attacked Ganesha from behind. He slashed off Ganesha's head with his trident. Parvati's anger. On being stopped from entering his own home, Shiva had, in a great fit of fury, cut off his own son's head. When Parvati saw her son's lifeless body, she became furious. "How could you do this?" she screamed at Shiva. "You have killed our son." Parvati was miserable, but soon she took the form of the terrifying goddess Shakti. She threatened to destroy all the gods. The gods tried to plead with the distraught Parvati. Shiva himself tried to pacify her. He accepted his defeat and pleaded with her not to destroy the gods. Parvati was still in her Shakti form and was on a destruction rampage. All the gods were in a great fear and they started praying to Shiva to sort out the issue. Shiva once again requested Parvati to calm down, but she demanded that her son Ganesha be brought back to life. Shiva consoles Parvati. The sight of the lifeless body of her son agonized Parvati, and she vehemently rebuked Shiva. Shiva was feeling so helpless, but he promised Parvati that he would bring Ganesha back to life. He tried to convince Parvati and said, "I will give him a new lease of life." No sooner had he said this than a large bird swooped up the head from the ground. Parvati was inconsolable at this sight. She shrieked in grief, "What will happen now?" "Don't worry, dear. I will find a fresh head and get it for him," Shiva said. "But there is none lying around," lamented Parvati. "Oh, I will get one from earth." Shiva consoled Parvati. Shiva then instructed the gods to wash Ganesha's headless body. "I will go southwards and cut off the head of the first creature I meet. Then I will fit it onto Ganesha's body," he said. And Shiva hurried southwards with his trident. Ganesha gets an elephant's head. Shiva set on a southward journey in the quest of a head. He wandered here and there but could not find any human head that would fit Ganesha's body. Suddenly, he found a recently severed head of an elephant's calf. Thinking that it would be just what he needed, Shiva picked the severed head up and turned back towards Mount Kailash. How Ganesha got an elephant's head is explained in various stories. According to a legend, the elephant's head was one of the several heads of the Airavat. Airavat, a magnificent elephant produced by the churning of the ocean of milk, was the mount of Indra, the king of gods. This head was offered to Shiva by Indra to help him out of his difficulty. Indra had met sage Durvasa, who had offered him a celestial garland. Indra accepted it and put it on the trunk of Airavat. But Airavat was irritated by its smell and threw it to the ground. An enraged Durvasa cut off Airavat's head, and he offered the head to Shiva. Parvati's displeasure. Finally, Shiva found a head to join onto the body of Ganesha. Meanwhile, Parvati was grieving over her son who was killed guarding the entrance to her cave. The gods and the sages did not know how to console her. Shiva soon reached Mount Kailash with the elephant's head and fixed it on Ganesha's lifeless body. Using his divine powers, Shiva then restored Ganesha's life. Amidst the chanting of mantras, Ganesha stood up and paid respect to all. Shiva was overjoyed. He said to Parvati, Parvati, look at our son. He looks flawless. But Parvati was not satisfied with this new form of her son. She was still furious with her husband. People will now make fun of him. He is looking very odd. A god with an elephant's head. Everyone will poke fun at him and call him a funny character, she lamented. Ganesha becomes Lord Ganesha. Parvati was not pleased with the elephant's head of her son. She thought Ganesha would be the butt of jokes everywhere. But Shiva tried to reason with Parvati. Tell me, I will do whatever that will make you happy, he said. Parvati asked him to pass an order that all gods and humans should show great respect to her son. Also, every worship, puja or sacrificial ritual, yagna, should start with the worship of Ganesha. Make him the head of your ganas too, she insisted. Shiva consented happily to all her demands. He also blessed Ganesha that whoever worships him with devotion would be free from trouble. Parvati was very happy. She embraced her son lovingly. Oh my Gajanan, elephant-headed, my Ganpati, Ganachief, my Ganesha. A delighted Parvati then brought Ganesha some sweetened cereal balls, laddus or modaks. He quickly gobbled down all of them. Since then, Ganesha is worshipped first before beginning any religious festivals or auspicious events or rituals. Elephant's head of Ganesha and demon Sindoor. There are many stories that tell how Ganesha came to have the head of an elephant. According to a legend, there was a demon named Sindoor. He had entered into Parvati's body when she was carrying Ganesha. Because of his mischief, baby Ganesha was born headless. Sindoor had cut off Ganesha's head even before he made his arrival into the world. Everyone was shocked to see a baby alive and kicking but without a head. Parvati was inconsolable. Narad had also come to visit the newborn baby. He asked the infant to go and get a head for himself. Once, a king had been disrespectful towards Narad. Narad cursed him to turn into an elephant-shaped demon. This demon was called Gajasur, the elephant demon. Narad told Ganesha to slash off Gajasur's head and fit it into his own headless form. Ganesha cut off the elephant's head of the demon with just one stroke. He stuck it onto himself and thenceforth came to be called Gajanan. Curse on Shiva and Ganesha's lost head. According to one legend, it was a curse on Shiva that had made Ganesha lose his head. Once, Surya, the sun god, was about to hit two devotees of Shiva named Mali and Sumali. But Shiva had hit out at Surya with his three-pronged spear, the Trishul, to protect Mali and Sumali. Surya had fallen unconscious and the world had grown sunless and dark. Sage Kashyap was Surya's father. He was filled with terrible fury when he saw Surya lying unconscious. He cursed Shiva, saying, "One day you shall be the cause of the death of your own son. Then you will understand my anguish." Ganesha was born absolutely normal, but Shiva was unaware of his birth and ended up killing his own son. "You are entirely to blame. You angered Sage Kashyap," cried Parvati. Shiva started looking for a head. Indra came forth with the head of his mount Airavat. It was Airavat's head that Ganesha carries on his shoulders. Shani's gaze and birth of Ganesha. Once, Parvati kept a year-long fast to please Lord Vishnu, as she desired to have a son. After 1 year, Vishnu was appeased and fulfilled her desire. This son was one of Lord Krishna's many incarnations. Shiva and Parvati celebrated the birth of their son by inviting all the gods to their home in Mount Kailash. All came to rejoice and bless the baby who was named Ganesha by his divine parents. Young Ganesha was showered with gifts from the gods, but one god refused to look at the child. This was Surya's son Shani. It is believed that Shani's gaze signifies a bad omen for whomever it falls upon. This was the reason why Shani did not want to cast his eyes on young Ganesha. Parvati was puzzled. When asked the reason for Shani's odd behavior, Parvati was told that Shani's wife had cursed him that whatever he looked at would be destroyed immediately. Shani's gaze harms Ganesha. Shani avoided looking at the newborn child of Shiva and Parvati, saying his gaze would harm the child. Parvati did not take Shani's words seriously. She insisted that Shani should look at the face of his nephew and bless him. Finally, Shani gave in to Parvati's insistence. The moment Shani looked at young Ganesha, his head fell off and was turned to ashes. Parvati was shocked with grief. The furious goddess cursed Shani to become lame. Vishnu came to Parvati's aid. Mounting his Vahan, he immediately went to fetch a replacement head for Ganesha. He found the head of a young elephant on the banks of a river and picked it up. Vishnu placed this head onto the lifeless form of Ganesha, who was immediately brought back to life. Shiva and Parvati were overjoyed and very relieved to see their son alive. Thus the mischievous and ever-smiling god Ganesha was born. Gajmukhasur and Shiva. There is yet another tale about Ganesha and his elephant's head. According to a legend, there once lived a demon who had the head of an elephant and the body of a demon since birth. His name was Gajmukhasur, who lived like a monk and ardently worshipped Shiva. He prayed devotedly for years. Finally, Shiva appeared before him and promised to grant him his wish. Gajmukhasur asked Shiva to grant him the boon to stay unconquered forever and that no human, celestial being or animal could kill him. He also wished that no weapon of any kind could ever kill him. He was granted both these boons. Gajmukhasur continued to pray even more rigorously to Shiva, who appeared before him again. This time, Gajmukhasur wanted Shiva to reside in his stomach. Shiva, widely known to grant any wish of his fervent devotees, fulfilled Gajmukhasur's this wish too and started living in the demon's stomach. Gajmukhasur and Vishnu. Gajmukhasur became invincible by making Shiva reside in his stomach. As a result, he inflicted terror upon the inhabitants of both heaven and earth. When Shiva did not return, Parvati was so worried. She thought for a while and went to Vishnu for help. Vishnu is the preserver of the world and has divine powers. He disguised himself as a celestial flautist and went to Gajmukhasur. Gajmukhasur was enchanted by the melodious sound of the flute and danced to the music played by Vishnu. The demon was absolutely oblivious to the fact that the flautist was none other than Vishnu himself. Delighted with the music, he haughtily told the flautist to ask him for anything. Vishnu, in the garb of a flautist, teased him by saying, "You cannot fulfill my wish, Gajmukhasur." Vishnu wanted to trick the demon into releasing Shiva from his stomach. Gajmukhasur releases Shiva. Gajmukhasur grew agitated when the flautist told him that he couldn't fulfill his wish. He insisted that the flautist should ask for anything in the world and he would be given the same. Vishnu was waiting for this moment. He asked Gajmukhasur to release Shiva, who was residing in his belly. Gajmukhasur was shocked with the flautist's wish. Instantly, he knew that the flautist was Vishnu himself, as Vishnu was the only one who could have known about Shiva's whereabouts. The demon set Shiva free, since he had given his word to the flautist. But in the process of releasing Shiva, the demon died. Before breathing his last, the demon requested Shiva to enable his head to be remembered forever. His dying wish was honored by Shiva as he gave the demon's head to his son Ganesha. Parvati and Ganga. The Puranas narrate yet another story of Ganesha's birth. Once Parvati bathed on the banks of river Ganga. The used bath water was then poured back into the river. It is believed that this water was gulped down by the goddess Malini, who had an elephant's head. Malini later on gave birth to a boy who had 4 arms and 5 heads of elephants. Goddess Ganga claimed that this multiple elephant-headed infant was her son. On the other hand, Parvati also stated that the child was hers. They both had an argument. They took the issue to Shiva and asked him for a solution. One of the several names of Shiva is Kailash, meaning one who bestows peace. Shiva resolved the dispute by announcing that Parvati was the mother of the baby with 5 heads of elephants. Shiva then united the 5 heads of the child into one and named him Vignesh, meaning remover of obstacles. Modak Priya Ganesha. Parvati was very happy when Shiva fulfilled her demands to bless Ganesha to be worshipped first in any rituals among the gods. Now little Ganesha became Lord Ganesha and he was blessed to be worshipped first in any rituals by all human beings. To celebrate the happiness, Parvati gave him a plate of sweetened cereal balls, modaks or laddus. Modak is a sweet dish that looks like dumplings. Curling his trunk, Ganesha picked one up, then another and yet another. The gods and the sages, witnessing the sight, were very amused and fondly said, "See how Ganesha loves these modaks. Modaks are his favorites." Since then, he was called Modak Priya. Modaks were thenceforth always offered to Ganesha during all worships and on Ganesh Chaturthi too. People believe that the lovable Ganpati's heart can be won over by feeding him laddus. Ganesha's brother Kartikeya's birth. Once a demon named Tarak was tormenting all the gods. Tarkasur had pleased Brahma with his severe penance and won a boon of becoming unconquerable. Brahma informed the gods that only a son of Shiva could kill Tarkasur. So Shiva married Parvati and a son was born to them. But one day the child was lost. The Ganas tried their best to locate the child but in vain. 6 goddesses named the Kritikas, stars, were taking their bath in river Ganga when they found a boy floating by. The Kritikas were very happy to find the child. They argued with one another over who would nurse the enchanting child, each claiming the child to be her own. The boy did not want them to argue over him, so he acquired 6 heads and 6 mouths. Ever since, the boy is also called Shadanan, 6-faced, and as he was raised by Kritikas, Shadanan was named Kartikeya. The Kritikas raised Kartikeya as their own child. Kartikeya's birth and Lord Agni. There exists another tale about Kartikeya's birth. One day, Shiva and Parvati were disturbed by Agni while they were relaxing. Parvati was displeased and cursed Agni by giving him a little of Shiva's energy. Agni could not stand the heat and got very agitated. He begged Shiva to forgive him. Shiva advised Agni to give out this energy to those who were shivering in the cold. The next morning, Agni came across the wives of 7 pious sages who were taking a dip in the river. All of them were shivering in the cold water. Agni came to their aid and transferred Shiva's energy that was inside him to them. Out of these 7, only 6 wives could bear the energy given to him. Later on, a 6-headed boy was born from that energy. Sage Garg gave the child the name Kartikeya. The 6 wives became Kritikas, stars. After he was born, the infant floated on river Ganga and is hence also called Gange. Shiva then brought Kartikeya to heaven to slay Tarkasur. Kartikeya the Senapati. All the gods were happy at the birth of Kartikeya. They began to urge Shiva to appoint the young Kartikeya as the head of their army. Kartikeya was made the chief of the gods' army, Senapati, at a grand ceremony. The gods equipped him with various weapons and special powers. His mother Parvati too gifted him a powerful spear. Kartikeya and his army set off to eliminate Tarkasur. It was such a magnificent sight. Numerous gods riding their grand chariots and divine carriers and armed with their very own celestial weapons filled up the skies. The army of each god accompanied him. Meanwhile, Brahma had advised Devsena, the daughter of the death god, to pray hard to get Kartikeya as her husband. When Shiva was informed about Devsena's wish, he got Devsena and Kartikeya married. That is how Kartikeya got the name Devsenapati, Devsena's husband. Kartikeya's warning to Tarkasur. Kartikeya, sitting on his peacock mount and wielding a spear, led a huge army of the gods against Tarkasur. The sounds of drums, the valiant war cries of the soldiers, and the rattling of armor and weapons reverberated through the battlefield. Before proclaiming war, it was an age-old custom to send word to the enemy to wage war according to moral principles and ethics, and also ask for peace. Indra too sent a messenger of peace to Tarkasur. The messenger told Tarkasur, "You have wreaked havoc in the world. The Lord of the 3 worlds, Indra, will destroy you now. If you love your life, then make peace with him, or else get ready for a war." Tarak was furious. "Out of my kingdom," he thundered. The messenger fled in fear. Tarkasur then went up on the terrace of his palace and gazed into the far-off horizon for any trouble. He heard war cries from a distance. Kartikeya kills Tarkasur. Tarkasur organized a huge army and set off to attack the gods. When he reached the battlefield, he was amazed to see a child leading the gods' army. Demon Tarak immediately knew that it was Shiva's son coming to kill him. He shuddered, but he did not want to show his fear. "Ha ha ha! You gods are worthless! Have you no shame in hiding behind the shield of a small child?" Demon Tarak jeered. Indra tried to tackle Tarak himself, but Tarak used his own Vajra and threw it at Indra. The king of gods, Indra, fell down unconscious. Now there began a spirited fight between both sides. Kartikeya threw his spear at Tarak and he hit back with his own. Kartikeya fainted away. What is going to happen now? The Gandharvas, who were watching from the skies, wondered. But Kartikeya soon recovered and hurled his spear at Tarak. The spear pierced Tarak's chest and he fell down on the ground with a terrible cry. All the gods rejoiced. There was a great jubilation among them. Kartikeya, the demon killer. After Tarkasur's slaying, Kartikeya learnt that 3 of Tarak's followers, Banasur, Kronch and Pralamb, who had fled after the war, were hounding people around the mountains. Kartikeya shot arrows from where he was standing and killed them. Now the gods were in high spirits. But among those 3 demons, Pralamb was still alive. The rejuvenated gods eliminated many demons, while some of the demons pleaded mercy and yet others retreated. The delighted gods brought down a rain of flowers. After learning that Kartikeya had killed Tarak, Shiva and Parvati reached there and embraced their son. They also blessed him. The women from heaven descended and performed Aarti to ward off evil. The sages chanted religious hymns. There was celestial music too. All men and women praised and worshipped Kartikeya. He aided the angels in retaining their rightful place. Thereafter, he went back to his abode near Mount Kailash. Pralamb goes to Patal. Demon Pralamb had escaped being killed in the battle between the gods and the demons and ran away to Patal, the world beneath the earth's surface. When Pralamb reached Patal, he saw that Vasuki, the king of snakes, was away visiting Kartikeya. Pralamb took the opportunity and terrorized smaller snakes that lived in Patal. 10 crore followers of Pralamb too went with him and began to trouble the snakes. One day, a snake named Kumud went up to Vasuki and complained about Pralamb in the presence of Kartikeya. Hearing this, Kartikeya became angry. He left for Patal with his spear. He flung it straight down to Patal and it hit Pralamb on his chest. The spear passed through his chest and dug a hole in the grounds of Patal. It then returned to Kartikeya. Water welled out of the hole it had made. For underneath flowed the river of Patal, Patal Ganga. This well will be known as Siddhakoop, declared Kartikeya. Ganesha and Kartikeya's sister Ashok Sundari. According to a legend, Parvati once requested Shiva to take her to a beautiful grove named Nandankanan. Shiva was surprised but promised to take her there. They soon set off to Nandankanan. Parvati was amazed to see many varieties of beautiful trees and flowers growing in the grove. Among them, there was one particular tree that was superior to all. Parvati curiously asked Shiva, "Which is this tree and why is it different from others?" "Parvati, this is Kalpavriksha, the divine tree that grants all wishes," Shiva replied. On hearing this, Parvati beamed with joy. Suddenly a thought came to her mind and she wished to have a daughter. As soon as she expressed her wish, a beautiful girl emerged from the tree. An overjoyed Parvati loved the girl at once and named her Ashok Sundari. Parvati blessed Ashok Sundari and told her that she would have a king named Nahush as her husband. Shiva and Parvati returned to Mount Kailash while Ashok Sundari started living in Nandankanan. Ganesha returns Vishnu's conch. During his childhood, Ganesha used to play with his father's Ganas at Mount Kailash. Ganesha would hide in a flower garden and suck the water from the ocean of milk using his trunk. It is believed that Vishnu rests on the coils of Serpent King Sheshnag, who floats on this ocean. Ganesha would then shower the water on the Ganas as if it was raining. One day, Vishnu found that his Panchajanya Shankh, a sacred conch with swirls towards the right, was missing and was upset. He then heard the sound of a conch and understood that it was his Shankh. It was being blown somewhere near Mount Kailash. Vishnu prayed to Shiva. Shiva appeared before him and said that the Shankh was indeed in Mount Kailash but with Ganesha. In order to retrieve the Shankh, Vishnu was asked to pray to Vallampuri Ganesha in a rare posture with his trunk turned towards the right. Vishnu organized a ritual in honor of Ganesha. Pleased, Ganesha returned the Shankh to its rightful owner. Vishnu was overjoyed to have his Shankh back. Ganesha as Vigneshwar. Once there lived a king in Hemvati called Abhinandan. His ambition was to become the king of heaven. So he started performing a great sacrifice to achieve his goal. When Indra came to know of this, he became scared of losing his throne. He summoned Kal, time, and asked him to create obstacles in the sacrifice. Kal assumed the form of demon Vigna, obstacle, and destroyed the sacrifice. However, he then went a step further and started destroying all virtuous and good deeds on earth. There was utter chaos everywhere. Brahma advised the frightened gods to worship Ganesha in order to get rid of the demon. Ganesha took birth as sage Parshva's son. He then started fighting against Vignasur. The demon tried to create many illusions, Maya, like cyclone, flood, and fire among others. But Ganesha destroyed all of them. Finally, Vignasur surrendered before Ganesha. He also requested his name to be added with Ganesha's name. This is how Ganesha came to be known as Vigneshwar, the destroyer of obstacles. Ganesha as Siddhivinayak. There are many stories behind how Ganesha got the name Siddhivinayak. According to a legend, the universe was created by Brahma with Ganesha's blessings. When Brahma was busy creating the universe, Vishnu, the preserver, dozed off on top of Sheshnag. During that sleep, two demons, Madhu and Kaitab, emerged out of Vishnu's ears. Empowered by goddess Mahamaya's blessings, the demons began torturing the gods. Brahma and other gods sought the help of Vishnu. Vishnu fought against the demons for more than 5,000 years but could not defeat them. While Vishnu was fighting against them, he prayed to Shiva to show a way to kill these demons. Shiva told him to pray to Ganesha and seek his blessings. Vishnu did as he was told. Pleased, Ganesha blessed Vishnu with powers, Siddhi, to fight against the demons. Vishnu slew the demons with his Sudarshan Chakra. Discuss. The place where Vishnu attained Siddhi is called Siddhatek. Ganesha, who bestowed the Siddhi, came to be known as Siddhivinayak. Mushak, the naughty mouse. Many stories exist about how Ganesha got a mouse, Mushak, as his Vahan, mount. Here is one story found in the Puranas. Once there lived a huge and powerful mouse named Mushak on earth. Mushak scrambled here and there, nibbling at food and clothes and biting people's feet. It jolted and scared people. There was total destruction all around. Crops were ruined and textiles and clothes full of holes. Mushak was making life difficult for everyone. The worried people tried different methods to trap the mouse, but all in vain. Mushak was very shrewd to be trapped. People had no option but to ask for a divine intervention. They started praying to Lord Ganesha. God, a mouse is troubling us. It has destroyed everything. What will we eat and where now? Please find a solution to this menace. They pleaded with Ganesha. They were confident that Ganesha would put an end to their misery. Lord Ganesha rides Mushak. A huge mouse was making people's life miserable on earth. They pleaded with Lord Ganesha to come to their rescue. Lord, we cannot stay here any longer. We will have to move to some other place. They prayed to Ganesha. On hearing this, Ganesha went down to earth to deal with Mushak himself. He pacified the devotees. Do not be anxious. I will do something. Then Lord Ganesha made a plan to trap Mushak. He made a trap, Pasha, with a rope and hurled it at the huge mouse. Mushak's neck was caught in the trap and Ganesha pulled him. You cannot flee from this, Pasha, exclaimed Ganesha. Ganesha then sprang over the mouse and sat astride on him as if on a horse. The mouse squeaked and wailed under Ganesha's ample weight. Finally, Ganesha took pity on the mouse and stopped the ride. The Gandharv who became Mushak. After trapping Mushak, Ganesha mounted his back. Mushak could not bear Ganesha's weight. On hearing his cries, Ganesha stopped the ride. Mushak then told Ganesha, Please hear my story. I am actually a celestial musician, Gandharv, named Cronch. I have been cursed to become a mouse. When I was a Gandharv, I happened to step on sage Vamdev's toes. Enraged, the sage cursed me to turn into a mouse and scramble on earth. When I begged for mercy, the sage said that though he could not take back the curse, people would always kneel down before me. So Mushak came to earth as a gigantic mouse. Even though many people tried to trap and kill him, they failed to do so as he was not really a mouse. But Ganesha was able to trap Mushak. Ganesha as Mushak Vahan. Mushak revealed his true identity to Lord Ganesha. The kind-hearted Ganesha took pity on Mushak and decided to bring an end to his sufferings. With his powers, Ganesha reduced Mushak's huge size to a reasonably small one. Mushak also pleaded with Ganesha to use him as his mount. Please forgive me and take me as your Vahan, my lord. I will take you everywhere you wish to go. He squeaked. Ganesha agreed. He also made himself light enough for the mouse to bear his weight. The mouse was once again a joyous creature. From then on, Mushak became Ganesha's vehicle. As sage Vamdev had predicted, all who bowed down before Ganesha paid their respects to Mushak as well. He also got to feed on the sweets offered to Ganesha. Since then, Mushak is worshipped along with Ganesha. This is how Ganesha came to be known as Mushak Vahan, one mounted on a mouse. Gajmukhasur becomes Ganesha's mount. There is another interesting story about how Ganesha got a mouse as his vehicle. Once there lived a demon named Gajmukha. He worshipped Shiva fervently. Once he performed severe penance and attained many boons from Shiva. But Gajmukhasur did not use them wisely. Instead, he became vain and started tormenting the gods and the sages alike. He used to force them to do 1008 sit-ups each thrice a day. Fed up, the gods and the sages pleaded with Shiva to save them from Gajmukhasur's antics. Shiva sent Ganesha to destroy Gajmukhasur. But Ganesha could not destroy the demon as he had attained the boon that he could not be killed by any weapon. Finally, Ganesha broke off his right tusk to pierce the demon. Gajmukhasur rushed towards Ganesha in the form of a mouse, Mushak. Quelling the demon's ego, Ganesha sat on top of Mushak, who could not bear Ganesha's weight. So, the conquered Gajmukhasur apologized to Ganesha, who made him his Vahan. Gods plot against Ganesha. The gods were excited. Lord Vishnu was getting married to goddess Lakshmi. Heaven was all decked up and preparations were on in full swing. All the gods were invited to the wedding. A day before the wedding, the gods went to meet Vishnu at his abode. Vishnu was puzzled to see them before him. "My wedding is tomorrow. Why have you all gathered here? Is there any problem?" he asked them. The gods told Vishnu that they were not at ease to take Ganesha along with them for the wedding ceremony. Surprised, Vishnu asked them the reason behind their uneasiness. One of them replied, "My lord, Ganesha looks so odd, and we are not comfortable when he is around, and he eats too much. Why should we take him if he will embarrass you in front of goddess Lakshmi and her family?" Ganesha dropped from Vishnu's wedding. Vishnu was perplexed. He told the gods that he had already invited Ganesha to his wedding and he could not stop him from accompanying them now. But the gods had already hatched a plot. "Please tell Ganesha that the demons could seize heaven if they came to know that it is empty. Flatter him about his strength and make him guard heaven while we are away." Vishnu did not want to leave Ganesha behind, but he agreed under the pressure from the gods. He told Ganesha to stay back and guard heaven. Ganesha was hurt. He had earnestly wanted to attend Vishnu's wedding, but he had to sit all alone in heaven. Now, sage Narad, who loved to stir up trouble, came to Ganesha and told him about the plan of the gods. Ganesha flew into a rage when he realized how the gods had plotted against him, preventing him from attending Vishnu's wedding. He vowed to take revenge. Ganesha, the obstacle creator. Ganesha was extremely angry when he came to know that the gods had conspired against him to prevent him from attending Vishnu's wedding. So he decided to take revenge on them. Ganesha told his mount, Mushak, to dig a hole on the road where the marriage procession was about to pass. The obedient Mushak did as he was told to do. When the wedding procession reached that place, the wheel of Vishnu's carriage plunged into the hole. As the wheel had got stuck in the hole, the wedding group could go no further. All the attendants of Vishnu joined in to pull out the wheel, but it was badly stuck. Though the gods too gave a hand in pulling out the wheel, yet it further sank into the ground. Everybody was quite anxious, as the auspicious time set for the marriage was fast approaching. The bridegroom himself was bewildered. Vishnu wondered who could be so strong and courageous enough to stop his wedding procession. Ganesha, the obstacle remover. The entire marriage procession of Vishnu was trying to pull the stuck wheel of his carriage out of the hole, but it would not budge. A farmer who was passing by saw their struggle and offered to help. The gods were skeptical and some even made fun of him, thinking how a mere farmer could help when Lord Vishnu himself had failed. They all had a discussion and ultimately the farmer was given a chance. "Jai Ganesh! Jai Ganesh!" He chanted Lord Ganesha's name and heaved out the chariot's wheel. The wheel came out at once. As the gods looked surprised, the farmer smiled at them and said, Lord Ganesha is the obstacle remover. Just taking his name removes all problems. Vishnu and the gods realized their mistake. They remembered Ganesha. All of a sudden, Ganesha appeared before them. The gods apologized to him. They learnt a big lesson. It is a person's goodness that counts, not his looks. They requested Ganesha to join the wedding procession. So Ganesha happily joined in. Ganesha wears white for coronation. One day, Parvati sat deep in her thoughts. She was thinking about the Pattabhishek coronation ceremony. Suddenly, a thought came to her mind. She decided that her son Ganesha should have a Pattabhishek ceremony. Parvati soon sent out invitations to all the gods and the sages as she wanted to celebrate the ceremony in a magnificent way. Ganesha too would be able to get everybody's blessings. She chose beautiful, colorful clothes for him to wear for the occasion. But to her dismay, Ganesha dressed in white attire on the ceremony day. Ganesha, I had picked up nice and colorful clothes for you to wear. Then why have you worn this white dress? Asked Parvati. Mother, the clothes that you chose for me are very nice. It was so thoughtful of you. White signifies simplicity and purity. So I wanted to wear white for this special day, Ganesha told Parvati. Lakshmi sits on Ganesha's lap. The coronation ceremony of Lord Ganesha had all the gods and the sages in attendance. Everybody took turn to bless Ganesha. Lord Vishnu and Goddess Lakshmi were there too. But as soon as they met Ganesha, Lakshmi made haste to leave. Vishnu was upset with Lakshmi's odd behavior. He said, You have not blessed Ganesha yet, Lakshmi. Why are you leaving already? Vishnu then told Ganesha, Ganesha, Lakshmi's hasty temperament dismays me. She is always restless. Please help me to make her calm and steady. Please allow her to sit on your lap. Most blessed will I feel if Mother Lakshmi sits on my lap, answered Ganesha. He encircled Lakshmi with his trunk and made her sit on his lap. The gods and the sages were thrilled to see this beautiful sight. They all cheered for Lakshmi and Ganesha. Jai Lakshmi Ganesha! Jai Lakshmi Ganesha! Moon god laughs at Ganesha. There exist many stories about why Ganesha got very angry with the moon god Chandra. According to one legend, Indra once organized a sumptuous meal for all the gods and the goddesses at his abode in Indralok. All the invitees started for Indralok mounted on their respective Vahans. Meanwhile, Ganesha was finding it difficult to sit on his Vahan. Mushak was unable to bear Ganesha's weight and was stumbling. On toppling over again and again, Ganesha asked Mushak, What is happening, Mushak? Mushak silently tried to balance himself. Shiva and Parvati, Brahma and Vishnu all were about to reach Indralok. Here, Mushak was still struggling to carry Ganesha. The moon god was looking down at Mushak's futile efforts. He found this sight funny. He started laughing. Ha ha ha! Kartikeya looks magnificent on his peacock. And look at you, Ganesha. The moon god started mocking at Ganesha. Ganesha took this as an insult and was very angry with the moon god. Ganesha's annoyance with moon god. There is yet another popular legend related to Ganesha's anger with the moon god. One day Shiva had a visitor. It was none other than Brahma. They both were discussing something important when sage Narad walked in. As Narad was offering a wonderful fruit to Shiva, Ganesha and Kartikeya reached there. They saw the fruit and soon both wanted to eat it. They pleaded with Shiva to give it to them. But Narad told Shiva, "This fruit cannot be divided as it is a special one." Shiva was quite confused. He then turned to Brahma for a solution. "Give it to Kartikeya, the elder one," advised Lord Brahma. Shiva agreed with Brahma and gave the divine fruit to Kartikeya. Brahma's decision made the otherwise merry and mischievous Ganesha terribly hurt and resentful. The moon god, who had witnessed the whole incident, burst out laughing. He was very amused at Ganesha's jealousy. Ganesha was already in a foul mood and got very annoyed with the moon god. Ganesha curses moon god. Ganesha was being mocked at by the moon god constantly. This enraged him further. Ultimately, it was too much to bear, and Ganesha lost his patience. "You are laughing at me. Since you have insulted me so much, let us see how you will shine from now on," yelled Ganesha in fury. Controlling his laughter with difficulty, the moon god fell silent. Ganesha was still angry with the moon god, so he cursed Chandra. "O Chandra, you shall lose your lustre and shine. Those who gaze at you will be cursed too." Instantly, the entire world became dark and morose. Chandra realized his mistake and begged for forgiveness. "I was so haughty, Lord. Please give mercy on me." The gods who were watching this took pity on Chandra. They requested Ganesha to forgive him. On being besought many times, Ganesha relented and said he would change a part of the curse. Ganesha forgives moon god. The other gods pleaded with Ganesha to forgive the moon god for laughing at him. The kind-hearted Ganesha could not take back his curse completely, so he softened the curse a bit. "You shall lose your brilliance for 15 days and regain it in the next 15 days. You shall continue to wax and wane like this forever." Ganesha told Chandra, "You shall remain inauspicious on the 4th day of the month of Bhadrapad Shukla." He added, Chandra was advised by the gods to pray to Ganesha to win his forgiveness completely. So Chandra worshipped Ganesha with utmost devotion on the banks of river Jahnavi. Ganesha was pleased with Chandra's devotion and told him that he would get back his lustre and shine. Those who observe fast on the 4th day of each month, Krishna Paksh, will have to worship both of us. You will also be worshipped by people on the 2nd day of every month, he added. Since then, people started worshipping Chandra too. Ganesha is annoyed with moon. There is yet another story related to Ganesha's annoyance with the moon god. On one of his birthdays, he went to visit his devotee's house on Mushik's back as usual. Since he was very fond of sweets, he ended up eating all the sweets served by his devotees. Ganesha decided to return home. On the way, Mushik spotted a serpent and lost its balance. Due to this, Ganesha lost balance and fell down. His huge belly split open and the sweets spilled out. Ganesha immediately stuffed the sweets back into his belly. Then he tied the serpent around his belly and sat back on his mouse. The moon god, who was watching this incident from the sky, started laughing out aloud. Ganesha felt severely insulted and cursed the moon god. "Chandra, no one shall dare to look at you on my birthday. It will bring them bad luck." Though Ganesha later pardoned the moon god, people still avoid looking at the moon on Ganesh Chaturthi. Ganesha gets Parvati's special sweets. One day, Parvati made some sweet rice cakes. When Kartikeya saw this, he asked for some. Parvati smiled and said, "Son, these sweet rice cakes are special. They have great holy power hidden in them. Only those who are worthy will get these cakes." Kartikeya asked, "What are those holy powers, mother?" Parvati said, "Son, mere inhalation of the aroma of these rice cakes imparts immortality. The person who eats these sweet rice cakes shall get immense powers. I have decided to serve these rice cakes to the one who is most worthy and deserving." Kartikeya thought of proving himself worthy in front of his mother and left for a journey across the universe. He decided to visit all the pilgrimages and attain blessings from all those places. Meanwhile, Ganesha, who was listening to his mother and brother's conversation, decided to worship his parents. Shiva and Parvati were pleased with Ganesha's thoughts and gifted him the rice cakes. Marriage test for Ganesha and Kartikeya. Time passed. Kartikeya and Ganesha grew up. Shiva and Parvati decided to get them married. But they found it difficult to decide who should marry first. Both the sons were equally dear to them. Finally, they approached their sons to ask their opinion on the matter. Unfortunately, Ganesha and Kartikeya had a terrible argument. "I am elder and good looking, so naturally I should get married first," said Kartikeya. Ganesha did not like his brother's reasoning and shook his head. He said, "Brother, being good looking is no criterion for becoming a bridegroom, but being wiser is. I am wiser than you, so I am a better choice for any bride." When Shiva realized that his sons were unable to propose a solution to the confusion, he announced that the two would compete on a challenge. "Kartikeya and Ganesha, here is the challenge. You have to go around the universe thrice. Whoever returns first can marry first." Kartikeya was happy as he knew he could outrace Ganesha. Little Ganesha learns a lesson. Both Kartikeya and Ganesha agreed to Shiva's challenge. Soon the race started. Kartikeya rode his mount, the peacock, and immediately set off for the journey. Ganesha thought, "My mount is smaller and will not be able to match the speed of Kartikeya's peacock. This way I may end up losing, so I have to think of another way." Suddenly, an idea struck Ganesha. He smiled with confidence. He remembered an incident from his childhood. As a child, Ganesha had once beaten a cat who was trying to hunt his mouse. He threw the cat so harshly on a rock that it got severely bruised. After doing so, Ganesha returned home. There he saw that his mother was severely hurt and was applying turmeric paste on her bruises. He ran towards her and asked her how she got hurt. To this, Parvati answered, "Ganesha, you are responsible for these bruises. I was that cat." She added, "Son, I am present in every creature. I am the mother of all the creatures, and I experience their pain and hurt equally." The quick thinking Ganesha. Ganesha learned an important lesson from his mother. He learned that God lives in the soul of every creature, and one should not hurt any living thing. From this lesson, he also found a solution to the problem he was currently facing, the race between him and Kartikeya. He went straight to Mount Kailash and stood in front of his parents. Parvati exclaimed, "You are still here? Ganesha, are you not participating in the race, or have you accepted your defeat?" Ganesha knew how to answer the queries of his mother. He was also aware that Kartikeya might have covered a long distance by that time, but he was calm. Ganesha immediately bowed down before his parents and touched their feet. After getting their blessings, he then walked around his parents thrice. Shiva and Parvati could see what Ganesha was up to. They were pleased that Ganesha had a wise approach towards difficult situations. Ganesha wins the race. Kartikeya completed the challenge of circling around the world 3 times and returned to Mount Kailash. He was sure that he had beaten Ganesha in the race, but much to his amazement, he saw that Ganesha was already there and Mother Parvati was hugging him. He ran towards his parents and asked Ganesha, "How did you circle the world 3 times and came back so quickly? Your mount is so small and weak as compared to my peacock." Ganesha smiled calmly. He explained everything to Kartikeya. He narrated how he recalled an incident that had happened in his childhood. He added that he had then discovered their mother was present everywhere and she was the symbol of the entire universe. So instead of circling the entire universe, I took rounds around the place where mother and father were sitting. For me, they are my world. Ganesha concluded. Shiva and Parvati were happy with Ganesha's wise thoughts and declared him the winner of the race. Kartikeya leaves for Mount Craunch. Ganesha had won the competition by using his wisdom and intelligence. Parvati said, "Ganesha will marry first as per the rules of the competition." Kartikeya was upset with this decision. He expressed his displeasure before his parents and Ganesha. "I was the one who actually circled around the universe on my peacock and put in a lot of effort. But Ganesha did not even move from Mount Kailash. This is not fair. I do not accept it," he said scornfully. But Shiva and Parvati were firm on their decision. "Stop arguing, Kartikeya. We know that you were the one who physically went across the entire universe. But Ganesha is the deserving one, as he took a wise step to deal with the situation. You used your speed, while he used his brains." Kartikeya was unhappy with his parents' decision. He felt that his parents were partial towards Ganesha, so he decided to leave Mount Kailash and headed towards Mount Craunch. Ganesha marries against his will. There are many legends related to Ganesha's marriage. According to one legend, Ganesha had told his parents that in spite of winning the race and the decision that he could marry first, he did not want to get married. He was happy eating sweet rice cakes and playing with his mouse. On the other hand, there was a girl named Tulsi who lived in Gokul. She had always worshipped Ganesha and wanted to marry him. But Ganesha showed his disinterest in the proposal. One day, Ganesha was in deep meditation. At that time, Tulsi approached him and tried to disturb him. Ganesha was not happy to lose his concentration. He was extremely angry with Tulsi, so he cursed her and said, "Go away. You shall marry a demon, not me." Tulsi felt insulted, so she too cursed Ganesha. "You do not want to marry me? That is fine. But soon you shall get married against your wishes and you shall not be able to meditate." Soon Ganesha got married to a girl named Pushti, fulfillment. Ganesha marries Riddhi and Siddhi. Another legend has it that Ganesha was unable to find a suitable match because of his elephant's head. He felt irritated and thought of hindering other gods' marriages. So he instructed his mouse friends to travel across heaven and dig up deep holes on the paths through which the marriage procession of any god would pass. These holes created havoc across heaven. The gods were worried and their families faced difficulties. All the gods then decided to visit Lord Brahma and ask for a solution. Brahma created two beautiful girls. One was Riddhi, wealth, and the other was Siddhi, intelligence. Brahma got Ganesha married to both of them. Ganesha calmed down, and then he never created any hurdle in any marriage procession. Ganesha had two sons, Shubh, auspicious, and Labh, prophet, and a daughter named Santoshi, satisfaction or contentment. Another legend states that Riddhi and Siddhi were the twin daughters of King Prajapati, and Ganesha married them after winning a race. Ganesha helps Kartikeya marry Valli. Ganesha loved his brother Kartikeya a lot. He helped Kartikeya whenever he faced any difficulty in life. Legend says that Kartikeya married twice in his lifetime. The first marriage was with a girl named Devsena, the daughter of the god of death. Ganesha helped Kartikeya marry a tribal girl named Valli. She admired Kartikeya for his bravery and heroism. She wanted to marry Kartikeya. He liked her too. Once, Kartikeya planned to meet Valli. He disguised himself as a bangle seller and visited Valli's house. Valli at once recognized him and started talking to him. But Valli's brothers did not let the two talk with each other. Later, Kartikeya and Valli went to Ganesha for help. Ganesha converted himself into a wild elephant and pretended to attack Valli. As per the plan, Kartikeya saved Valli from the elephant. When Valli told her brothers about Kartikeya's bravery, they willingly got her married to him. Sage Parshuram. Sage Parshuram was the sixth incarnation of Vishnu. The great sage Jamagni and Renuka were Parshuram's parents. Though Parshuram was a Brahmin, yet he was trained to be a warrior. He was famous for his short temper. He had cursed several people just because they had annoyed him. Parshuram was a great disciple of Shiva. He once pleased Shiva through his prayers and deep meditation. Shiva blessed him with a divine axe. The axe had immense powers. Parshuram was proud of his axe and always kept it with him. The incarnation of Vishnu as Parshuram had a great motive behind it. Vishnu observed that the Kshatriya rulers on earth were creating havoc and were troubling people. So, to bring back things on the right path, Vishnu took birth on earth as Parshuram. It is believed that he went round the earth 21 times and destroyed all the Kshatriyas. Ganesha stops Parshuram. Parshuram was an ardent devotee of Lord Shiva. He once decided to meet Shiva. He thought he could visit him at any time he wished. Parshuram reached Mount Kailash and found two boys guarding the entrance. These two boys were Kartikeya and Ganesha. Their parents had instructed them to guard the entrance so that no one might disturb them. Parshuram asked Kartikeya and Ganesha to let him meet Shiva. Ganesha said, "O respected saint, you will have to wait for some time. Our parents are resting and we are not supposed to let anyone go inside." But Parshuram was not ready to understand Ganesha's explanation. He was getting restless and showed anxiety to meet Shiva. Ganesha and Kartikeya did not like the way Parshuram was behaving. But since he was older, Kartikeya and Ganesha did not want to insult him. So they politely continued to stop the sage from meeting Shiva. Parshuram, who was a short-tempered person, took it as an insult and became furious. Ganesha is called Ekdanta. Parshuram had no patience. Soon a tussle started between him and Ganesha. Kartikeya tried to stop the fight between them, but neither of them would budge. Parshuram used his axe to assault Ganesha, but Ganesha averted the attack. Parshuram continued the attack, whereas Ganesha refused to step back. Finally, Parshuram hit at Ganesha's tusk with the divine axe. Ganesha let Parshuram strike him, as he was aware that Parshuram's axe was a gift from his father to the sage. The axe broke his left tusk. Ganesha let out a yell. Mother Parvati rushed out to her son. She saw Ganesha suffering and was very angry with Parshuram. Shiva too joined them. Shiva tried to placate Parvati. Parshuram pleaded for forgiveness and prayed to Ganesha. Ganesha forgave Parshuram. From now on, you shall be known by the name of Ekdanta, with one tooth. Your broken tusk will be used in writing the great epic Mahabharata. Parshuram blessed Ganesha. Ganesha swallows Sudarshan Chakra. Once, Vishnu had to meet Shiva urgently. On reaching Mount Kailash, he placed his divine wheel, Sudarshan Chakra, at a safe place and went in to meet Shiva. After meeting Shiva, Vishnu came out to take his Sudarshan Chakra. But to his dismay, it was not there. He searched high and low for his chakra, but couldn't find it anywhere in Mount Kailash. Then, using his celestial powers, Vishnu was able to see that the chakra had been swallowed by Ganesha. In order to get back his chakra, Vishnu began praying to Ganesha. But Ganesha could not be pleased easily. So Vishnu pulled on his earlobes with his arms, crossed and started bending down and then getting up. When Ganesha saw Vishnu in this posture, he could not control his laughter, and out flew the chakra from his stomach into Vishnu's hands. Since then, the act of bending down and stretching back while holding the earlobes with crossed hands became a mode of worshipping Ganesha. The coconut cracking Ganesha. This is a story about how Lord Ganesha became so fond of cracking coconuts. Once, Shiva and Parvati had a bitter argument. Enraged, Shiva slashed off their son Ganesha's head. Immediately he was remorseful for what he had done. Shiva knew how angry Parvati was when he had cut off Ganesha's head earlier in a fit of fury. Fearing Parvati's wrath, Shiva instantly fixed Ganesha's head back onto his body with the chanting of shlokas and showering of Ganga's water. Ganesha came back to life. After his rebirth, Ganesha vowed to cut off the head of Shiva, who had beheaded him twice. This made the entire heaven shudder. The bewildered gods kept on looking for a solution. Suddenly, an idea occurred to one of them. They got a coconut that had 3 marks on it. The marks looked like the 3 eyes of Shiva. They offered it to Ganesha. Ganesha broke apart the coconut. This symbolic killing of Lord Shiva calmed down the adamant Ganesha. Proud Kuber. Kuber, the god of wealth, was very proud of his endless wealth. Bragging about his abundant riches and grandeur, he once invited Shiva and Parvati to his palace to share a meal. He thought they would be impressed by the sight of his splendor and wealth. Shiva and Parvati had a prior commitment, so they had to decline Kuber's invitation. When Kuber insisted again and again, Shiva told him they would send their son Ganesha for the meal. Kuber was glad to hear that Ganesha would be his guest. I would love to play host to your son, my lord. I have riches enough to entertain hundreds of youths like Ganesha, said Kuber. Ganesha could comprehend that Kuber wanted to boast about his lavish living. He thought of teaching the haughty Kuber a much needed lesson. Ganesha and Kuber. Ganesha arrived at Kuber's palace at the stipulated time. He got a stupendous welcome when he arrived at Kuber's palatial abode. Kuber took Ganesha around his grand palace. Ganesha was quite tired and hungry after a while, so Kuber's attendants laid out a sumptuous and a magnificent meal consisting of numerous delicacies. Ganesha was requested to begin the meal. It took him just a few seconds to consume all the dishes laid out before him. He was served more food by Kuber's attendants, but that too was eaten in no time. Yet again he asked for more food. Kuber was shocked to see how much Ganesha could eat. Ganesha behaved absolutely normal after eating all that food. The poor attendants got more and more food for Ganesha. Now there was nothing left for Ganesha to eat. All of Kuber's wealth could not really fill up Ganesha's stomach. Ganesha's appetite. Ganesha was still hungry. He had eaten all that Kuber's attendants had laid out for him. Yet he kept asking for more and more food. Kuber was worried. My lord, there is nothing I can give you to eat now. I have already offered all I had, he said. Ganesha was displeased. Why did you keep this feast for me then? You are not able to entertain a youth well. Get me something quickly, or else I will gobble you up, he said. Saying this, Ganesha went on a destructive spree. He ate up all he could lay his hands on. Plates, furniture and Kuber's city, Alkapuri as well. In fact, Mushak too began pulling down the city and digging holes everywhere. The inhabitants of Alkapuri ran helter-skelter to save themselves and took shelter in Kuber's palace. Kuber realizes his mistake. Kuber rushed back to Mount Kailash. He told the whole story to Shiva. Please help me, protect me from Ganesha's fury. What should I do to satisfy his hunger? Cried Kuber. Don't worry, Kuber. Ganesha is just teaching you a lesson in humility. You were too proud of your riches. False pride always does one harm, said Shiva. Kuber understood his mistake. He begged forgiveness and apologized for being blinded by the fake luster of his riches. Shiva then advised Kuber to offer Ganesha a bowl of sweet rice cakes to satiate him. Kuber rushed back home with a bowl of sweet rice cakes and presented it to Ganesha. Ganesha was happy and content after finishing up the rice cakes. Kuber fell at Ganesha's feet and begged for mercy. I could not understand your greatness, my lord. My pride is gone now, he said. Ganesha accepted Kuber's apology and blessed him. Ravan, Shiva's avid devotee. Ravan was the demon king of Lanka. He was an avid devotee of Lord Shiva and a great scholar too. His aim was to become the most powerful demon on earth. For that, he desired to acquire Shiva's lingam. So he undertook severe penance to get the lingam from Shiva. Ravan had earlier been granted a boon by Brahma that his heads and arms could never be destroyed. So he offered his heads one by one daily to Shiva. To appease Shiva, Ravan also did severe penance on Mount Kailash and prayed to him day and night without food or water. Shiva was delighted with Ravan's devotion and appeared before him. I am very pleased with your prayers. Ask for anything you desire, he said. Ravan asked for Shiva's lingam. He said he wanted his blessings so that he might become the most important and strong demon on earth. Ravan gets the Shivlingam. Shiva was pleased with Ravan's dedication and presented him the lingam, but on certain conditions. Shiva told Ravan that he would have to return to his city on foot and that he could not put the Shivlingam down anywhere at all. If he placed it on the ground, it would get stuck there. Then he would not be able to take it with him. Ravan was thrilled and agreed to all the conditions. He accepted the Shivlingam and started on his way back to Lanka. The gods were worried. Ravan, who was already dangerous, would gain a lot of power and become invincible if he was able to reach Lanka with the Shivlingam. They rushed to Ganesh and said, "Lord, we are very scared. Ravan will become the most powerful being on earth if he succeeds in placing the Shivlingam in Lanka. The power he attains will be put to some evil use and he will destroy the whole universe." Ravan gives Shivlingam to Ganesha. Ravan was on his way back to Lanka with the Shivlingam. Soon he reached a forest. It was early morning and Ravan thought of taking his bath and performing his prayers. But he could not keep the Shivlingam on the ground. So he decided to find a suitable person who could hold it for a while. On Mount Kailash, all the gods were requesting Ganesha to save the Shivlingam from reaching Lanka. Ganesha assured them that he would definitely solve the problem. Ganesha followed Ravan and reached the forest. He understood that Ravan was searching for someone to hold the Shivlingam. Ganesha transformed into a young boy and reached the place where Ravan was standing. Ravan saw the boy and immediately asked him for help. He said, "Boy, you look like a wise fellow. Can you hold the Shivlingam for some time?" The young boy agreed and held the Shivlingam carefully. He assured Ravan that he would take care of it. Ravan asked him not to keep the Shivlingam on the ground at all and went away to take his bath and perform his prayers. Ravan loses Shivlingam. Ravan was performing his prayers with deep concentration. Suddenly, he heard the boy shouting, "Oh, this Shivlingam is too heavy. My hands are aching. I have to drop it here." Ravan was puzzled. He was unable to leave his prayers in between, so he shouted back, "Please hold it for some more time. Let me complete my prayers." Ganesha knew it was the right opportunity to place the Shivlingam on the ground, so he kept it on the ground and disappeared. When Ravan came back, he found that the boy was missing and the Shivlingam was stuck to the ground. He tried his best to pull out the Shivlingam, but was unable to do so. He lost all hope and left for Lanka. Thus, Ganesha stopped Ravan from getting the divine Shivlingam and becoming invincible. The place where this incident took place is popular by the name of Mahabaleshwar in southwest India. Talasur warns Amravati. Once there lived a cruel demon named Tala on earth. He was immensely powerful. He defeated all kings and started ruling their kingdoms. People on earth trembled with fear just at the mention of his name. Talasur wanted to rule Amravati too. Amravati was the abode of the gods. When Sage Shukracharya, the preceptor or guru of the demons, heard about Talasur's intention. He went to meet him. He said, Talasur, Amravati cannot be conquered. You should drop the idea of attacking it. Talasur did not like what Shukracharya said. He roared, I am determined to do so. You just tell me what I should do to become victorious. I trust that you will devise a way through which I will be able to rule Amravati. Shukracharya thought for a moment and then suggested, Talasur, if you succeed in getting a boon of immortality from Brahma, then you may be able to conquer Amravati. Start worshipping Brahma. Talasur pleases Brahma. As suggested by sage Shukracharya, Talasur started worshipping Brahma. He prayed with utmost dedication. He performed penance without having food or water. Brahma was happy to see his devotion. He appeared before Talasur and offered him a boon of his choice. Talasur was happy as his goal was achieved. He said, Lord, please grant me the boon of invincibility. Brahma said, Son, I am sorry. I cannot grant your wish as it is against nature's rule. Ask for something else. Talasur acted smart and said, My lord, then grant me a boon that no living creature except an elephant could kill me. Brahma granted the boon and disappeared. Talasur became more powerful. He gathered a huge army and marched towards Amravati. Due to the power of his boon, no god could defeat him. Talasur's haughtiness reached its peak. Gods seek Ganesha's help. Talasur had become overconfident. He was sure that none could kill him. Soon he conquered Amravati. He imprisoned several gods while some succeeded in fleeing. Talasur became like a dictator. With his cruelty increasing day by day, the gods decided to visit Brahma. As they knew, he had given the boon of power to Talasur. Brahma was very disappointed to find out that Talasur had conquered Amravati and was torturing every living creature. He felt very bad when he realized that it all happened because of his boon. He said, Indra, only an elephant can kill Talasur according to the boon. I suggest you all to approach Ganesha. He can easily defeat the demon as he has the head of an elephant. The gods then went to Ganesha and explained their misery. They requested him to kill Talasur. Ganesha assured them that he would definitely kill the demon and left for Amravati. Ganesha humbles Talasur. Ganesha reached Amravati and challenged Talasur for a fight. Talasur, under the sense of superiority, accepted the challenge. He even mocked how such a small fat creature could fight against him. He thought he would easily defeat Ganesha. But as the fight progressed, Ganesha seemed to overpower Talasur. He caught the demon in his trunk and smashed him on the ground. Talasur became unconscious. When Talasur came back to his senses, he realized that Ganesha had an elephant's head. He thought, I won't be able to defeat Ganesha, so I had better surrender and save my life. He immediately fell at Ganesha's feet and asked for forgiveness. He admitted that he had used his powers for destruction and he was repenting for that. Ganesha decided to forgive Talasur, but kept certain conditions before him. He ordered, Talasur, you should at once leave Amravati and spend your life peacefully in the netherworld. Finally, Talasur left Amravati and the gods got their abode back. The terror of Analasur. Yamraj, the god of death, ruled the city named Yam. He was fond of dance and music. Once he held a grand event of music and dance. He invited several kings. A beautiful dancer named Tilottama caught Yamraj's attention. Soon Tilottama gave birth to a child. The child grew up to become a ferocious demon named Anala. His voice had the power to twitch earth while his eyes could emit fire. He created havoc around the world. People used to run for their lives on seeing him. He conquered all the three worlds quite easily. The entire universe was terrorized by him. The gods were not spared either. There was terror all around. Indra tried to defeat Analasur several times, but in vain. The worried gods approached Vishnu for help. Vishnu said, "Only Ganesha can help us in this case, so let us worship him." Ganesha swallows Analasur. The terrified gods started worshipping Ganesha. They prayed with utmost dedication. They knew if Vishnu had said that Ganesha could help them, then it must be true. They wanted to get rid of Analasur anyhow. Ganesha heard their prayers and appeared before them. He listened to all their woes and said, "All right, I shall help you all. Do not worry." Ganesha then transformed himself into a small boy and headed towards Analasur's abode. The demon approached Ganesha slowly, while his eyes emitted fire. The surroundings around Ganesha were reduced into ashes within seconds. Ganesha stood bravely in front of Analasur. The demon, on seeing Ganesha, started laughing loudly. He said, "So this small creature is going to fight against me and defend the gods? Let us see." Analasur started shooting fireballs at Ganesha, but he stood unscathed. A surprised Analasur then opened his mouth wide enough to swallow Ganesha. Ganesha showed his huge avatar and in turn gulped Analasur at one go. This was the end of the fire demon Anala. The delighted gods rained flowers down on Ganesha. Ganesha's fiery stomach. Ganesha had swallowed the fire demon Anala. Unfortunately, the demon started troubling his stomach. Ganesha felt like his stomach was on fire. He was unable to lie down or remain still. He shouted in pain, "Oh, my stomach! Help me! It is burning!" Ganesha rolled on the ground in immense pain. Tears rolled down his eyes in suffering. He was unable to bear the burning sensation. The gods panicked to see Ganesha in pain. "We must put out the fire quickly, or else he will die." Some poured cold water on his stomach. A few brought icy cold water for him to drink. Moon said, "I have a cool nature. Let me soothe him." But nothing worked. Someone called the water god Varun. He poured the cool Ganga water on Ganesha's stomach, but Ganesha's suffering continued. Ganesha as Balchandra and Padmapani. The gods were worried about Ganesha's fiery stomach. Some even brought chunks of ice from the peaks of Mount Kailash. But Ganesha was not relieved. A huge hula baloo took place in heaven. A few goddesses also came forward to help. They brought milk, curd, sandalwood powder paste, cool clay, and even turmeric. But nothing helped. Some goddesses tried flower extracts as a remedy for the burning. Legend has it that Indra brought the crescent moon and placed it on Ganesha's stomach, thus giving him the name Balchandra. Vishnu also came to visit Ganesha and placed his lotus on Ganesha's stomach, but the suffering did not subside. Ganesha is known as Padmapani after this instance. One of the legend says that at this moment Brahma got his two daughters Riddhi and Siddhi married to Ganesha to cool him down. But nothing made a difference to Ganesha's burning stomach. Durvagras cures Ganesha. A worried Shiva came forward to help his son. He pulled out his divine serpent and placed it over Ganesha's stomach. The holy powers of the serpent also didn't relieve Ganesha from the pain. Everyone was concerned now. The gods then called upon all the sages from the universe. In a short while, 80,000 sages came there. When they saw Ganesha suffering from the burning sensation and acting restless, they placed exactly 21 shoots of Durva plant and chanted sacred mantras. Immediately, the burning sensation stopped. Ganesha's body became cool and felt relaxed. Now I feel much better. Thank you so much, wise sages, he said with a smile. Ganesha then declared that anyone who offered him Durva grass would be blessed. Those who offer Durva shoots to me shall attain purity, and all their sins shall be forgiven. Even if a devotee does not offer me flowers, I would bless him if he offers me Durva grass, he said. So no ritual for Ganesha is considered complete if Durva grass is not offered to him. The Brahmin's curse. King Sulabh was the ruler of the island Jambudweep. He and his wife Subhadra worshipped Ganesha devotedly. Once a poor Brahmin arrived at King Sulabh's palace and begged the king to give him something to eat. But the king turned down the hungry and needy Brahmin's request. He further asked the Brahmin to look for a job as he seemed capable of earning his own living. The humiliated Brahmin got very angry and cursed King Sulabh. You have failed to fulfill the responsibilities of a king. May you be born as an ox. The queen was furious to hear the Brahmin curse her husband. So she cursed him back. You senseless Brahmin, may you be born as a donkey. Now the Brahmin turned his fury at the queen and cursed her too. May you be born as a beggar, he shouted. Thus the king, the queen and the Brahmin were reborn as an ox, a beggar and a donkey respectively. The glory of Durvagras. The ox, the donkey and the beggar woman wandered around many places and finally came to a temple built in the name of Lord Ganesha. On the day of Ganesh Chaturthi, the beggar woman who had a pile of Durva grass with her happened to sit beside the temple. There came the donkey and the ox, and they started nibbling at the Durva grass. The woman sprang up and tried to chase them away, but both the animals ran away with some grass in their mouths towards the temple. In this to and fro chase, some leaves fell from the animals' mouths onto Lord Ganesha's statue. The beggar woman was still running around Ganesha's statue, trying to shoo away the ox and the donkey. Ganesha accepted the fallen Durva grass as an offering in prayer and the encircling beggar woman as circumambulation. He blessed the three and freed them from their curse. King Janak and Lord Ganesha. Once, sage Narad visited King Janak, who was famous for his wisdom. Looking at his prosperity, Narad told Janak, "It seems like Lord Ganesha has blessed you with a flourishing and peaceful life." King Janak didn't think so and gave his honest opinion to Narad. He said, "O sage, I don't believe that. It cannot be the blessings of Ganesha." Narad was quite dismayed. When Ganesha learnt about this, he went to Janak in the guise of an old Brahmin. But the wise Janak immediately realized that the old Brahmin standing in front of him was actually someone divine. The old Brahmin asked for something to eat as he was hungry. King Janak organized a lavish meal for the Brahmin. But the whole food in the palace could not satiate the Brahmin's appetite. He went on eating everything that came his way and still asked for more. You promised to feed me. I am still very hungry. Bring me more food, he said. King Janak felt embarrassed when he failed to satisfy the Brahmin's hunger. The Brahmin said to him, If you cannot even give me food for a day, why do you call yourself a king? Durvagras and Lord Ganesha. After teaching a lesson in humility to King Janak, Ganesha went to the town of Mithila. There lived a poverty-stricken Brahmin named Trisharas in Mithila. In the guise of a poor Brahmin, Lord Ganesha decided to visit him. He was extended a warm welcome by Trisharas and his wife. Ganesha, as a poor Brahmin, told Trisharas that he was very tired and hungry and urgently needed some food to eat. Trisharas told Ganesha that they were very poor and all they could offer him was some durva grass. Ganesha happily accepted the grass. Ganesha then came to his true form in front of Trisharas and his wife. The poor old couple had tears streaming down their eyes on seeing Lord Ganesha. Anyone who presents me even one blade of durva grass with sincerity shall always have my blessings, Ganesha said. Demon Durasad. Long ago, there lived a demon called Durasad. He ruled over a country called Mukund. He was a great devotee of Lord Shiva. To attain immortality, he prayed devotedly to Shiva. Shiva was appeased and granted him a boon. He told Durasad, I am indeed impressed by your worship and dedication. May you have supreme powers. May you rule over the entire universe and never be killed by anyone except my son Ganesha. On gaining these extraordinary powers, Durasad became haughty. He began to misuse his powers. He started ruining and destroying heaven and earth. He killed innumerable innocent people. He destroyed several pious and religious places. The gods too looked on helplessly. The entire world trembled with fear. Everybody besought Brahma, who told them that Durasad had become so powerful because of Shiva's boon. Ganesha was the only one who could save them from Durasad's wrath. Ganesha turns Durasad into a statue. The gods decided to take Lord Ganesha's help to deal with Durasad. So they went to Mount Kailash and explained him the situation. Help us, O Lord. You are our only hope against Durasad. You alone can destroy him, they said. Ganesha promised them that he would kill the evil demon. Ganesha then went to Mukund. He challenged Durasad for a fight. Durasad accepted the challenge. A violent fight ensued. Durasad fought with Ganesha using all his powers to defeat him. But all his weapons and powers were of no use. Ganesha could not be defeated. Soon Durasad understood that the invincible one he was fighting against was Lord Ganesha himself. But by this time, Ganesha hit him with his mace. Durasad instantly became a statue. The inhabitants of heaven and earth were delighted to be free of the demon's wickedness. Bhasmasur and Durasad. There is another story associated with Durasad. Once, Lord Shiva had blessed a demon named Bhasma that anyone touched by Bhasmasur on the head would be reduced to ashes. Armed with such magical power, Bhasmasur decided to test the boon on Shiva himself. Seeing this, Shiva started running to save his life. Ultimately, Lord Vishnu destroyed the demon. Durasad was Bhasmasur's son. He did what his father did, appeasing Shiva with deep penance. Shiva had granted Durasad the boon of immortality and absolute power over the three worlds, Trilok. Proud of his strength, Durasad started terrorizing the whole universe. Sage Narad wanted to destroy Durasad for his wicked ways and thought of a plan. He mocked Durasad by saying that he could not be called the ruler of Trilok unless he was the ruler of Kashi. As Kashi belonged to Shiva, Durasad could not take it over. Dhundiraj Ganesha. When Durasad heard that he could not rule over Kashi, he instantly hurried to attack Kashi. An anxious Narad reached Mount Kailash and narrated the whole incident to Parvati. Parvati was advised to give birth to a child who would then defeat Durasad, as he had a boon from Shiva that nobody but Shiva's son could kill Durasad. Narad also told Parvati to chant the mantra Om sincerely and soulfully. Parvati did as she was told, and an infant with 4 arms and a trunk was born. Parvati named the child Ganesha and asked him to kill the demon Durasad. Mounting the lion given by Parvati, Ganesha went to Kashi to defeat Durasad. As Durasad had received the boon of immortality from Shiva, Ganesha struck him down to the ground. It is believed Shiva built Ganesha's shrine on the spot where Durasad was buried. The Ganesha's idol established in this temple is called Dhundiraj Ganesha. Vedvyas needs a writer. Ganesha was not only a savior but a great writer too. He assisted sage Vedvyas in writing the great epic Mahabharata. Vyas was a great poet. He had split the Vedas into 4 parts: the Rig Veda, the Yajur Veda, the Sam Veda, and the Atharva Veda. After splitting the Vedas, Vyas decided to write the Mahabharata, which describes the great war fought between the Pandavas and the Kauravas, who came from the same family. There were many characters and different stories attached to the Mahabharata. Sage Vyas wanted to describe each and every detail, and also how Lord Krishna preached the lesson of the Gita to Arjun. But for this, Vyas needed someone who could assist him in executing such an extensive work. He wanted a person who was patient as well as wise enough to carry out the task without any break. Overall, he wanted a diligent writer. Ganesha is reluctant to write. Sage Vyas was unable to decide whom he should approach and ask to become his writer. He thought, I should approach Lord Brahma and express my confusion. I think he would be able to suggest me a suitable person. Lord Brahma patiently heard Sage Vyas's request. Don't worry, Vyas. I have someone ideal in my mind. Let me talk to him, said Brahma. He then worshipped Lord Ganesha. When Ganesha appeared, he put forth the sage's request to him. Ganesha went to meet Sage Vyas in his ashram. Vyas wanted him to write the Mahabharata. He said, O mighty Ganesha, I want to write down the couplets of the Mahabharata. But my main problem is that I cannot think and write simultaneously. I would be grateful if you join me in creating this epic. But Ganesha was hesitant in accepting the proposal. He said, Respected sage, I am very busy visiting my devotees and solving their problems. So I am sorry, I would not be able to assist you. Ganesha agrees to write Mahabharata. Finally, Vyas succeeded in convincing Ganesha to write down the couplets of the Mahabharata for him. But Ganesha put forth a condition before starting the work. Sage, I want you to narrate the couplets at one go, which means I do not want any interruption while writing. If you stop your narration in between, I will quit at once. Vyas was worried. He started thinking of a solution to the condition laid by Ganesha. He thought, how can I dictate non-stop? It is impossible to speak continuously without pausing. It is difficult to narrate the right words and phrases without a break. So Vyas laid down a counter condition. He said, Lord, I agree not to pause while I dictate, but promise me that you will write down only after understanding the meaning of what I say. Ganesha said, Do not worry. I will write down the couplets only after understanding them. But while doing so, if I take some pauses, those pauses will not be counted. Sage Vyas agreed happily. Vyas dictates Mahabharata. The moment Ganesha agreed to write down the epic Mahabharata, Vyas started framing the couplets in his mind. He framed complex couplets so that Ganesha might take long pauses. Those pauses would help Vyas frame the next set of couplets and so on. On the other hand, Ganesha was getting ready his writing material, especially the Bhojpatra, flattened pieces of bark, and a special herbal ink for his quill. Soon, Vyas started his dictation. Things proceeded smoothly. After a while, Vyas dictated a couplet that was very complex. Ganesha stopped writing and started deciphering the real essence of those complex lines. Vyas was waiting for this moment. He soon started weaving more complex couplets. Vyas would see a childish twinkle in Ganesha's eyes whenever he succeeded in deciphering the meaning of those couplets. Ganesha would chuckle and write down the script with more enthusiasm. And so the process went on. Mahabharata, the great epic. The Mahabharata is one of the longest epics ever created in the world. It consists of around 88,000 verses and each verse is a long passage. Ganesha proved to be a wise writer as he wrote down each and every couplet only after understanding the real meaning of it. He did not lose his patience and the long pauses in between helped Sage Vyas compose the couplets properly. Meanwhile, when the process was going on, the quill that Ganesha was writing with broke down. Ganesha knew the value of time and the value of the conditions laid by him and the sage about the non-stop writing of the epic. So without any delay, Ganesha took his broken task, broken by sage Parshuram, and resumed work. This showed his dedication, commitment, and concentration to a task at hand. Slowly, the work of writing down the great epic came to an end. The mistake of Ved Vyas. Ved Vyas was famous for his work of writing several scriptures. He is one of the most knowledgeable people known till date. But the great sage also committed a blunder while composing the Puranas. While composing any great scripture, it is a norm to start with a Mangal Shlok, greetings to Ganesha, to carry out work without any obstacle. But Vyas was so proud of himself that he forgot to write a Mangal Shlok. As a result, the sage faced several difficulties and hurdles in executing the work on the Puranas. Even after completing the task, his work was not complete. Vyas left many gaps in the script. A puzzled Vyas then approached Brahma. Brahma welcomed Vyas and heard his problem patiently. Vyas said, Almighty, why am I facing so many difficulties in my holy work? I intend to create scriptures through which people can know how to lead a good life. The knowledge of the Puranas is very important for every being, but all my efforts are in vain. Please advise a solution. Vyas realizes his mistake. Vyas requested Brahma to devise a solution to his dilemma. Brahma thought for a while and found out the blunder Vyas had done. He said to Vyas, O sage, how can you forget Parvati's statement? She had said that before starting any holy work or any ritual, Lord Ganesha has to be given due respect, or else all efforts shall go waste. But you forgot to do so. Now you should pray to Ganesha and seek his forgiveness. Then only you will be able to get fruitful results. On hearing this, Sage Vyas realized that he had forgotten to write the Mangal Shlok at the beginning of his work. He remembered that every new venture, if started with Mangal Shlok, reaches its goal successfully. So the sage worshipped Ganesha and after getting his blessings, completed his work successfully. Who should be the leader? Once, all the gods in heaven held a competition to find out who should be the leader of the world. The competition was that they would all circumnavigate the earth and the winning destination would be Shiva's residence, Mount Kailash. The one who reached the peak of Mount Kailash first would be considered the winner. All of the gods geared up for the competition and an auspicious time was decided. During the entire process, Ganesha kept quiet, sitting at one side with his head drooping. He did not take part in the race and gave up beforehand. While he was about to return, Sage Narad approached him and asked the reason for not participating in the race. Ganesha said, "My mount is too small in front of the other gods' mounts. I will never win the race. It is better not to take part rather than losing." Narad was disappointed to know this and decided to find a way to help Ganesha. Ganesha becomes the leader. Narad consoled Ganesha and asked him not to be dejected. Narad then advised him, "Ganesha, every problem has a solution, so never lose hope. Stop worrying. Do you know the power behind the name Ram? There is an entire world hidden in his name. If you inscribe his name on the ground and circle around it, your mission will be accomplished. There is no need to go around the entire world." Ganesha was wise enough to understand what message Narad wanted to give him. He happily inscribed Ram's name on the ground and circled around it thrice. Ganesha, filled with enthusiasm, then approached Shiva's abode and told everything to him. Shiva was happy to know what Narad had preached to Ganesha. He said, "Son, Narad is absolutely correct. There is a whole world hidden in Ram's name. It has tremendous power, and I am happy that you have understood this truth. I declare you the winner of the competition. From now on, you shall be called Ganpati, the leader of all, and also Vinayak, the lord of all." Varenya Putra Ganpati. Once there lived on earth a king named Varenya. He was blessed to have Ganesha as his son. His pregnant wife was due to have a baby soon. Knowing this, Ganesha told his mother, "Oh mother, I should leave for earth and be born as a son to King Varenya." Parvati blessed him and Ganesha left for earth. Upon reaching Varenya's kingdom, Ganesha found out that the queen had delivered a baby and a maid had kidnapped the baby while the queen was sleeping. Ganesha took the place of the missing baby. But Ganesha had a strange appearance. He had 4 hands and a trunk. When the queen woke up, she was shocked to see an unusual baby beside her. She quickly left the unusual baby in the forest. Sage Parashar and his wife Vatsal looked after baby Ganesha in the forest. Ganesha grew up into a strong child. Meanwhile, a demon named Sindura was torturing everyone and making life difficult. Child Ganesha fought against the demon and killed him. Being the son of King Varenya, he was called Varenya Putra Ganpati. Dacoit Viprad repents. There was once a dacoit named Viprad. He had robbed many people and troubled every passerby. But soon he started feeling guilty about his deeds. So he approached a sage named Mughal. At first, Sage Mughal was terrified to see a dacoit approaching him. But soon he found out that Viprath was there to confess his sins to him. The sage felt sorry about Viprath's state and said, "Son, calm down. I will suggest a way so that you may get rid of your sins." Mughal started chanting some holy couplets known as Ganesha's mantra and took a dry twig. He then fixed the twig on the ground and asked Viprath to chant the Ganesha's mantra after him. He asked Viprath to learn the mantra and take care of the twig as if he was taking care of Ganesha's idol. He said, "Viprath, pour water respectfully over the twig daily and chant the mantra. Perform this holy ritual with full dedication. Soon Lord Ganesha will bless you." Viprath becomes Sage Bhushandi. Viprath sincerely followed Sage Mughal's instructions. He watered the twig daily and chanted Ganesha's mantra. He got deeply engrossed in the prayers and forgot about the time that passed. Viprath attained immense grace due to his prayers and the associated penance. By then, a large tree had grown out of the twig. Sage Mughal happened to visit the place where Viprath was performing his penance. He was amazed to see the transformation. The sage woke Viprath up from his meditation. Viprath felt utterly blessed and touched Sage Mughal's feet in gratitude. Viprath was happy to see Mughal again, as he was the one who guided him towards the transformation. Suddenly, a trumpet grew from the point of the origin of Viprath's eyebrows. Sage Mughal was delighted to see this and renamed Viprath as Sage Bhushandi. The trumpet was a symbol that Ganesha had forgiven Viprath and blessed him. Tripurasur troubles all. Sage Grutsamad was cursed to have a demon child named Tripura, who had Ganesha's blessings. Now, being blessed by Ganesha made Tripurasur very powerful, and he started an assault on the gods, the sages, the humans, and even on the inhabitants of Patal. Tripurasur's rampaging spree went on, and finally he reached Mount Kailash, Lord Shiva's home. His supreme powers made the entire mountain tremble horribly. Having made a favorable impression on Shiva, Tripurasur was asked to state his wish. He told Shiva that he wished to rule over Mount Kailash. Shiva moved to Mount Mandar after handing over Mount Kailash to Tripurasur. But this did not satisfy Tripurasur. He kept on bothering and disturbing the sages, who rushed to Narad for help. The sages were told to invoke Lord Ganesha. Ganesha promised them that he would destroy Tripurasur and save them. Turning into a Brahmin, Lord Ganesha went to Amravati to deal with Tripurasur. Mahaganpati. Ganesha met Tripurasur in the guise of a Brahmin. Tripurasur was mesmerized by Ganesha's precious stones, so Ganesha gave him the diamonds and the pearls. This made Tripurasur very happy, and he told the Brahmin to ask for a wish. The Brahmin, Ganesha himself, asked for the Chintamani, a wish-fulfilling jewel possessed by Shiva. Tripurasur reached Mount Kailash and asked Shiva to give him the Chintamani. Shiva refused, and a violent battle ensued. Finally, Tripurasur won the war. Shiva asked Sage Narad how Tripurasur defeated him. "O Lord, it is because you forgot to worship Ganesha before starting the war," Narad told him. Shiva rectified his mistake by chanting the Om mantra and remembering Ganesha. On the sound of Om, a 5-faced and 10-handed form of Ganesha made an appearance. This Omkar Ganesha gave Shiva a special mantra. Using this mantra, Shiva killed Tripurasur with just one arrow. On the place where he had slain Tripurasur, Shiva made Mahaganpati's shrine. Gana wants Chintamani. The jewel Chintamani has one more tale related to it. King Abhijit and Queen Gunvati had a charming son called Gana. The intelligent and the robust child was Shiva's devotee. Shiva was very pleased with Gana's worship and granted him a few boons. This made him very egoistic, and soon he was surrounded by negative people. Sage couple owned a wish-fulfilling gem called Chintamani. The gem had the ability to provide food to thousands of people. Once, Gana went to meet couple at his hermitage. When his eyes fell on the shining gem, he wanted to own it. Kapil knew about the negative company Gana had fallen in. He feared that Gana would misuse it to harm people if he acquired the gem. When Sage Kapil refused to part with the gem, Gana took it away by force. The mortified sage prayed to Ganesha, who appeared before him and promised to help. Chintamani Vinayak. Ganesha had promised Sage Kapil that he would help him get back the Chintamani. One night, Ganesha appeared in Gana's dream. Gana dreamed that Lord Ganesha had cut off his head. When he woke up, instead of repenting his sinful deed, he was furious and charged towards Kapil's hermitage to kill him. King Abhijit requested his son to return the gem to Kapil. However, Gana was adamant and paid no heed to his father's advice. When he and his army reached Kapil's hermitage, he saw that Lord Ganesha had come there with his own army to rescue Kapil. Ganesha killed Gana and returned the Chintamani to Kapil. However, Kapil had lost all interest in the gem. He asked Ganesha to keep it, as it had caused a lot of trouble. Kapil then offered Ganesha's favorite modaks to him. He lovingly hung the jewel around Ganesha's neck. Chintamani Vinayak, a pious shrine, was built at this place. Ballal and Ganesha. In a village called Palli, there lived a merchant named Kalyan Sheth and his wife Indumati. Their son Ballal was an ardent devotee of Lord Ganesha. One day, Ballal went to the forest with his friends to play. Ballal was very pleased when he saw a large stone. He told his friends to imagine the stone to be Lord Ganesha and to worship it. The children drew a trunk on the stone with red paint and made an offering of beautiful flowers to it. Some boys ran and brought fresh fruits. They offered the fruits to the idol. They were very happy and began chanting Ganesha's mantra. They also recited the couplet Vakratunda Mahakaya. When the boys did not return for quite some time, the anxious parents rushed to the forest. They accused Ballal of spoiling their children. When the other children saw their parents, they ran to them and went home happily. Ballal continued to stay there and pray. Ganesha as Ballaleshwar. Ballal was lost in deep prayers and did not see his father approach. Furious at Ballal, his father tied him to a tree and hit him mercilessly. He then went home, leaving his son in the wild. Ballal was having severe pain all over his body, but he still did not stop chanting the mantras. Suddenly a Brahmin appeared before him. Ballal's wounds were healed and he was freed from the tree too. The Brahmin lovingly embraced Ballal, who realized that this was Omkar Ganesha and fell at his feet. He pleaded with Lord Ganesha to appear before him in his original form. Pleased with Ballal's devotion, Ganesha appeared and told him to ask for a wish. Ballal wanted Ganesha to stay there permanently and protect the villagers. Ganesha did as requested and disappeared into the stone. The next morning, Ballal's father was surprised to see that the stone Ballal had worshipped had magically turned into Ganesha's statue. Ballal's father was repentant of his misdeed. The idol was named Ballaleshwar. Dusht, a cruel man. Once there lived a fisherman named Dusht in a town called Nandak. Fed up of his troublesome and mean ways, people united against him and complained to their king. The king expelled Dusht from the land. Dusht took his cruel and wicked ways to another place. Once, when he was hunting in a forest, he accidentally fell into a muddy pit. He went to a nearby lake to wash off the mud and take his bath. At that time, Sage Mughal passed by chanting Om, Om, Om. Dusht attacked the sage as he wanted to rob him. But no sooner had Dusht raised his hand than it got paralyzed. The sage affectionately stroked his hand and got it normal again. Dusht repented and begged Sage Mughal's forgiveness by falling at his feet. Ashpurak Ganesha. Sage Mughal advised Dusht to worship Lord Ganesha on his birthday by offering flowers like lotus and durva grass. Dusht did as he was told to do. Dusht sat in front of a stone and worshipped it as Ganesha. He kept on chanting the mantra, Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. This place was in the middle of many dry trees. Sage Mughal left. After a long time, Sage Mughal came back to see Dusht fully covered by a sand dune. Only the sound of Om could tell that Dusht was there. The dry trees too had turned green again. The sage then removed the sand only to find Dusht in a frail state. The sage showered some holy water from river Ganga on him. The place of Dusht's worship came to be called the Ashpurak Shrine. Dusht became an ardent devotee of Lord Ganesha. The birth of Kaveri. In ancient times, there lived a king named Kaver who ruled over southern India. The king and his wife were very popular for their kindness, but the king and his queen were sad because they did not have any child. They started praying to Brahma to bestow them with a child. Pleased with their sincere prayers, Brahma blessed them with a baby girl. The king and the queen named her Kaveri, meaning the daughter of Kaver. When Kaveri grew up, she got many marriage proposals, but she refused them all. She desired to marry someone really special. She had always admired Lord Brahma. She thought, my husband would have to be at par with Brahma, the creator, who had given me to my father. A sage suggested her to worship Brahma and express her desire to him directly. She went away to Sahaya mountains, Sahyadris in the western Ghats, to do deep penance. She meditated there to get her wish fulfilled. Lord Shiva and Sage Agastya. Lord Shiva and Parvati were getting married at the same time in the Himalayas in the north, when Kaveri was worshipping Brahma in the Sahaya mountains in the south. All people, sages and gods started flocking to the north to witness the divine union of two souls. As a result, the earth began to tilt towards the north. The earth was in danger of toppling over. Shiva was worried. He could not ask his guests to leave the wedding venue. It would be an insult to them. But at the same time, he had to find a solution quickly. So Shiva decided to ask Sage Agastya for a favor. He requested Agastya to go southward as he was the only one who could balance the universe by his supreme powers. Agastya agreed, even though he was sad that he could not witness the divine marriage. Agastya proposes to Kaveri. After agreeing to Lord Shiva's request, Agastya asked Shiva to provide him with a water source in the south. Shiva assured him that his requirement would be fulfilled. Agastya started his journey. Soon he reached the mountain range of Sahaya. The moment Agastya reached the Sahaya mountains in the south, the balance of the earth was restored. Amidst that mountain range, Agastya was surprised to see a beautiful woman, lost in deep meditation. He wanted to know the reason for her meditation, and that too in the middle of a huge mountain range. On being asked, the woman said, "O sage, my name is Kaveri, and I am worshipping Lord Brahma to find a suitable partner for myself." Agastya could not hold back his laughter and started laughing at Kaveri. But Kaveri did not give up and resumed her worship. Agastya was impressed by Kaveri's determination and asked her to marry him. Kaveri's river form. Agastya's marriage proposal surprised Kaveri. She thought for a while and then agreed. She knew that Agastya was a wise and virtuous person. She said, "O sage, I have a request to make. I would like to help mankind in some way. As you know, this region is facing scarcity of water. I want you to transform a part of me into a river so that the dry land of south may get fertile again." The sage was impressed by the noble thoughts of Kaveri and transformed a part of her into a river. The river was named after her. Agastya did not let Kaveri flow there at the Sahaya mountains. Instead, he carried her river form in his kamandalu. Agastya and Kaveri got married and selected a beautiful mountain top on Sahaya mountains as their abode. Unfortunately, Agastya forgot to release the water form of Kaveri in the southern part, and the part remained dry. There was drought all over. The gods in heaven were worried about the drought. Ganesha and river Kaveri. The gods decided to speak about the drought in South India to Ganesha, their savior. They knew Ganesha would definitely devise some plan to deal with the situation. They told Ganesha about the drought and how river Kaveri was kept in Agastya's kamandalu. Ganesha immediately left for Sahaya mountains, where Agastya and Kaveri resided. Agastya was meditating when Ganesha reached his hermitage. An idea struck Ganesha. He assumed the form of a crow and dived over Agastya's kamandalu. The kamandalu started tumbling down. Immediately, Agastya raised his hand to shoo away the crow. River Kaveri took Agastya's raised hand as an indication to flow down, and it started flowing down the Sahaya mountains. And finally, the dry lands of south got drenched with water and became fertile again. This is how River Kaveri was born. River Kaveri is to date one of the largest rivers in India and is serving the entire population of the region. Demon Surkdaman. There is one more story attached to River Kaveri. A demon named Surkdaman wanted to be a victorious king. He wanted to defeat all the gods and the demons as well. To fulfill his desire, he performed deep penance to please Lord Shiva. Shiva was satisfied with his dedication and blessed him with what he desired. After getting the boon from Shiva, Surkdaman became a terror for the universe. He fought against the gods and imprisoned them. Indra somehow managed to escape from the prison and hid in the southern part of India. Meanwhile, Surkdaman became the ruler of hell heaven and earth. He then travelled towards Mount Kailash as he wanted to meet Shiva. On his journey, Surkdaman met Varun, the god of water. He threatened Varun to stop the clouds from going southwards, or else he would be imprisoned. Surkdaman wanted the southern region where Indra was hiding to face severe drought. Varun had no other option but to listen to the demon, and it resulted in severe drought in the south of India. Ganesha turns into a crow. The southern parts of India were facing severe water crisis. All the living beings were in pain. Sage Agastya, who resided on Sahaya mountains, prayed to Lord Brahma for the well-being of the people living in the south. Brahma appeared before Agastya and asked him to visit Mount Kailash and meet Shiva. He said, "Agastya, Shiva bears the holy river Ganga in his hair. He will help you." Agastya met Shiva and told him about the drought that southern India was facing. Shiva gave some holy water to Agastya. He carried the holy water in his kamandalu. Ganesha heard the conversation and followed Agastya. Agastya reached the drought-affected region, but instead of releasing the water, he started meditating. Ganesha thought that he should do something to release the water first. Ganesha turned into a crow and pushed the kamandalu. It tumbled down while Ganesha immediately turned himself into a small boy and ran away. Ganesha releases river Kaveri. Sage Agastya's meditation was disturbed by the noise. He saw a little boy running away and the kamandalu in a tumbled position. He raised his hand to chase the boy. The holy water that was held in the kamandalu took the sage's raised hand as an indication to flow down. The water sputtered down and took the form of a river. It was named Kaveri. Meanwhile, Agastya started chasing the little boy. He covered a long distance while doing so, but finally the sage caught up with the boy. Ganesha revealed his identity in front of Sage Agastya. The sage was surprised as well as was angry with Lord Ganesha. But then he apologized for his anger and said, "O mighty Lord, the water was precious. You should not have wasted it." Ganesha smiled and said, "Agastya, turn around and see. Is the water really wasted?" Agastya turned around and saw a huge river flowing down the mountain. Ganesha blessed the river that she would never dry up. Satrajit and the Syamantak gem. The curse of Ganesha has immense power. The moon on the fourth day of the bright fortnight in the month of Bhadrapad was cursed by Lord Ganesha. Hence, it was inauspicious to look at the moon on that night. An incident took place in the city of Dwarka, the abode of Lord Krishna. A Yadav nobleman named Satrajit was an ardent devotee of Surya, the sun god. He worshipped Surya regularly. Surya was pleased with his devotion and gifted him a divine jewel named Syamantak. The Syamantak gem was a bright ruby that sparkled like the sun itself. Surya told Satrajit that the gem had an extraordinary power of producing 1.5 tons of gold daily. He instructed him to wear it around his neck. With the help of the gem, Satrajit soon became prosperous. When Yadav chief Ugrasen saw the gem, he ordered Satrajit to hand it over to him. He said, "Satrajit, hand over this gem to me. This is Krishna's order." But Satrajit refused to do so. Syamantak gem's journey. Satrajit had a brother named Prasenjit who was very fond of hunting. One day, Satrajit gave the Syamantak gem to Prasenjit. Prasenjit wore that gem around his neck and went to the forest. While hunting in the forest, a lion attacked him and killed him. The lion, which was attracted to the glow of the gem, took it to its cave. On the way, it was killed by a bear named Jambavan. Jambavan took the gem to his cave and gave it to his son to play with. Days passed and Prasenjit did not return. Satyajit was worried. He started suspecting Krishna of killing his brother for the gem. In order to prove his innocence, Krishna set out to look for Prasenjit and the gem. Soon, Krishna found Prasenjit's dead body. A lion's footprints nearby led Krishna to the dead body of the lion. On further examination, he found the footprints of a bear nearby. Krishna's curiosity increased. He and his team started following the bear's footprints. Krishna tracks the gem. Following the bear's footprints, Krishna soon reached Jambavan's cave with his troop. He instructed his troop to wait outside the cave and entered the cave alone. A furious fight started between Jambavan and Krishna. In the beginning, Jambavan did not know who Krishna was, but soon Jambavan lost all his strength and Krishna defeated him. Jambavan saw the image of Lord Ram in Krishna. Jambavan fell at Krishna's feet at once and said, "O Supreme Power, how could I not recognize you? I have committed such a big sin. How could I fight against the Supreme Power of the world, the one who runs the entire world? O Lord, I would like to present you a precious gem that I found in the forest." Jambavan gave the Syamantak gem to Krishna. He also requested Krishna to marry his daughter Jambavati. Krishna returned to Dwarka with Jambavati and the gem and returned the gem to Satyajit. The journey of Syamantak gem continues. Satyajit sincerely repented for having suspected Krishna of stealing the Syamantak gem. So to make up for his accusations, he offered the hand of his daughter Satyabhama to Krishna. There lived two brothers named Shatadhanva and Akrur in Dwarka. They were jealous of Satyajit and wanted to acquire the Syamantak gem. Shatadhanva killed Satyajit when he was sleeping and took away the gem. Satyabhama had witnessed all this and told everything to Krishna. Meanwhile, Shatadhanva gave the Syamantak gem to his brother Akrur and asked him to flee from Dwarka. Unaware of the fact that Shatadhanva had given the gem to Akrur, Krishna and Balram followed Shatadhanva. Krishna killed Shatadhanva but could not find the gem. Balram thought Krishna was killing innocent people, so he left Krishna alone and did not return to Dwarka. When Krishna reached Dwarka alone, people thought Krishna had exiled Balram for the gem. Krishna was upset again. Krishna worships Ganesha. Krishna was dismayed to see his people suspecting him again and again. At that time, sage Narad visited Dwarka and found Krishna in an unhappy state. When asked the reason, Krishna said, "O Narad, people doubt my sincerity. Can I ever lie or steal? Am I to be suspected? People guide me. I need your help, as I think I am under some curse." Narad gently explained, "You have looked at the moon on the 4th day of the bright fortnight in the month of Bhadrapad. It is inauspicious to look at the moon on that night. It was on that night that the moon was cursed by Lord Ganesha. The curse was that anybody who would look at the moon that night would be falsely implicated." Krishna asked Narad whether there was any way to free him from the curse. He requested Narad to help him, as he did not want people to think ill of him. Narad answered, Pray to Lord Ganesha with utmost devotion. Ganesha will free you from the curse. Krishna followed Narad's advice and freed himself from the curse.
Thanks for watching. Do like, share, subscribe to Sahil Book House.